So Ilia Topuria just took that shiny UFC belt of his, said thanks very much, and handed it right back to Dana. Just over a year after winning the damn thing and defending it once, El Matador really is on his bullshit. If you've been paying attention to the things that Ilia has said in interviews, this shouldn't be that big of a surprise. I think the bigger surprise for most people is the fact that he's been calling all of his shots, stepping up to the plate, and hitting home runs exactly where he pointed the bat. Sure, he said he would do this, but a lot of people say a lot of shit. It's an exceedingly rare occurrence to willingly give up a belt, but if you're as goddamn confident as Ilia is that he'll just go out and get someone else's, then in his mind, what difference does it make if he tosses the first one into the Mediterranean Sea? Of course, there are a few questions now. Chiefly, is he going to be put directly into the super fight with Islam Makhachev? And what's going to happen to that belt that he just dropped off at UFC headquarters? Well, the second question has an answer, which I'll get to, but the first question is the bigger elephant in the Ilia Topuria equation. I think it goes without saying that Ilia versus Islam would be the biggest fight the organization could possibly make at the moment, short of John Jones doing the unthinkable and actually fighting Tom Aspinall, so that's probably what the UFC is going to do. Ilia has been asking for the fight, and Islam is as game as any fighter in the history of hand throwing, so it would be highly unexpected for Dana and company to make Ilia fight a top 5 guy first, especially considering that 2 out of those 5 guys are on the verge of retirement. The number 1 versus number 4 ranked pound-for-pound fighters in the world is a money-printing machine. Please do not serve me Charlie Olives when that fight is on the menu. But then, of course, Islam is a whole different animal than what Ilia has faced before. Granted, he went to a close decision with Volk in their first fight, but we all know what happened after that, and every other time that Makhachev has defended his belt. Ilia might say that Islam's wrestling sucks, and that's a funny thing to hear in interviews, but it's a tough reality to mentally conjure into existence for yourself, even if you've done that with everything else in your career thus far. So now it seems like a situation where Ilia has an extremely tall order in his future. Can this unwavering commitment to self-belief somehow will a win over the greatest fighter currently competing in the sport into existence, or could this vacation of the featherweight belt end up being a massive crash-out for Topuria, the reality of which only sinks in the second after their fight concludes? Million-dollar questions abound. As far as the featherweight division goes, the GOAT Alexander Volkanovski will get another shot to regain the belt he wore for so long against the people's champion, the main attraction, Mr. Diego Lopez. Everyone loves to see Diego finally get his crack at it, and with the stages both men are at in their careers, he might actually pull that shit off. I do think it's a slap in the face by Ilia to the rest of the featherweight division to have left so quickly, not giving all these other guys their chance to earn it over the current best in the world there, but if Ilia's move to lightweight was always in the cards one way or another, this is far from the worst situation that division could have found itself in. Doesn't make it right that everyone else at 135 isn't going to get a crack at Ilia, but I guess the potential 2-division champion does what he wants. I've heard speculation that the UFC might try to book a card with John Jones and Tom Aspinall and Ilia and Islam sometime this year in order for 2025 to have a mega card. That seems unlikely to me as you're consolidating 2 massive gates into one, but it's not out of the question. Ilia's manager says that he wants Ilia to fight a top 5 guy before getting a title shot. That also remains to be seen, even if, as I said, that seems kind of wild to me. We've also got Conor being kept under lock, key, and nuclear launch code by the organization for strategic use, but much like our actual nuclear weapons, it's a long shot to think that that option is ever going to get actioned upon, but theoretically at least, a supercard involving McGregor does exist in some reality. There's a whole lot of unknowns at the moment as this somewhat unprecedented vacation falls out of the sky and into our laps, and I don't even think that Dana and the boys have a really solid plan of attack formulated just yet, so the eyes of the world remain glued to their phones in anticipation of the next announcements as they roll out. One thing that I think is abundantly clear now, however, is the self-belief that Ilia Topuria has is something that should be studied. He took the Conor McGregor blueprint that made him a minor MMA meme early in his career, and unlike Conor, he stuck to the game plan. He conceived, believed, and achieved everything he said he was going to, and that's pretty goddamn impressive in the most unpredictable sport on the planet. Going up against Makhachev is going to push that self-belief as well as his own human abilities to its hardest limit, one which I don't know if he'll be able to push past, but one person who does know it, or at least fully believes that he knows it, is Ilia Topuria. It's been working for him so far, and now beltless in a roundabout way, I guess don't fix what ain't broken certainly applies here. Should Ilia Topuria fight and beat Islam Makhachev to become a two-division champion, continuing to achieve literally everything he set his mind to and said he was going to do, that would be a monumental achievement, to be sure. Should things go the opposite way, and this turns out to be a tremendous miscalculation on Ilia's part, it's going to be fascinating to see how he navigates that new reality. The highest levels of self-assuredness can often lead to the hardest downfalls in a person's mentality. The new question will then become, does Ilia have the mental fortitude to weather such a challenge to his belief system? I guess we'll see what's what in due time, but as of where we stand right now, who knows if we'll ever have to find out the answer to that question at all in regards to the Georgian Spaniard who, at current, has been batting 1,000. For yelling about mixed martial arts, this is Thinker St. James saying congratulations to Ilia for his amazing ascension at featherweight and ending that stint on his own terms. It's run number 2 for El Matador. New Game Plus begins with his next fight announcement, and if you care this much about the career navigation of Ilia Topuria, you too are a fucking moron. Toro, Toro, Toro.
It